My name is Ethan James Carter. I'm 17 years old, and on the night of November 14th, 2022, I was murdered in the freezing cold parking lot behind the AMC movie theater where I worked. One minute, I was standing under the flickering orange hum of a street lamp, typing a text to my mom, literally typing the letter K to let her know I was finally on my way home. I had typed, "Coming home now," and my thumb was hovering over the send button. The next minute, I was bleeding out on the gritty, oil stained asphalt while a stranger's frantic hands violated the sanctuary of my pockets. He was searching for a wallet that contained less than $20. I died right there, wedged awkwardly between a rusted blue sedan and the metal railing of a shopping cart return, staring at a discarded soda cup rolling in the wind. But you need to understand something immediately. That isn't the end of the story. In fact, the moment my heart stopped beating and my lungs released their final, rattled breath, the story barely began. Because what happened to me in the darkness after my brain shut down didn't just change me, it gave me a message. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a hallucination caused by a dying brain flooding with GMT. It was a download, a clear, terrifying, and hopeful message about what is coming for all of us. Specifically, what is hurtling toward America and the world in the year 2026. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want to be a prophet. I just wanted to finish high school. I just wanted to eat the leftover chili my mom had waiting for me in the fridge. But I was sent back for a reason. I saw the timeline. I saw the shaking that is about to start. And I promised him, the one who met me in the silence, that I would come back and tell you everything. Most people think death is a fading to black, a final curtain call where the audience leaves and the theater goes dark. They are wrong. Death is more like waking up. It is the moment the theater lights finally turn on, and you realize you've been watching a screen your entire life. When I died on that pavement, the screen ripped open. I stepped through. I'm telling you this because the clock is ticking. We are approaching a horizon line, a shift in the way the world works that most people are completely unprepared for. If you are hearing my voice, it is not an accident. You are meant to hear this. You are meant to be ready. My name is Ethan. I died on a Tuesday night in Georgia, and I came back to warn you. Before I tell you what I saw in the silence, I need you to understand who I was before the noise stopped. I need you to know the person who died on that pavement. Because if you think I was some sort of holy saint or a mystic, you're wrong. I wasn't a prophet. I was just a kid. I was Ethan James Carter, a junior in high school living in a medium-sized town in Georgia. My life was aggressively normal. It was the kind of life that leaves no footprint in history books. I was a solid B student, smart enough to pass without trying too hard, but too distracted to actually excel. I spent more time scrolling through TikTok than I did studying for chemistry. I worried about the zit on my chin before prom. I worried about whether the girl in my third period history class even knew I existed. I lived with my mom and my little sister Chloe. My dad left when I was 6 years old. He packed a bag on a rainy Tuesday morning and just dissolved. He didn't die, he just chose not to be there anymore. That shaped us. It forged the three of us into a tight, defensive knot. It was us against the world. I took that seriously. Even though I was just a teenager, I felt this crushing weight to be the man of the house. We weren't poor, but we were always balancing on the edge. You know that feeling when you hear your mom on the phone with the electric company using her polite but desperate voice asking for an extension. That's why I worked at the AMC theater. Every weekend, while my friends were out partying, I was sweeping up sticky floors and scooping popcorn that smelled like fake butter. I was saving up. I told my mom I was saving for college, but mostly, I was saving for a car, and I was saving for shoes. It sounds stupid now. Looking back from where I've been, it sounds ridiculous. But back then, I was obsessed with getting the new retro Jordans. I thought if I had those shoes, I would have armor. I thought if I could just buy the right things, maybe I wouldn't feel so small. And God? Yeah, I believed in God, I guess. In the South, believing in God is like believing in humidity. It's just part of the atmosphere. We went to church on Easter and Christmas. I prayed, sure, but my prayers were transactions. God, please let me pass this math test. God, please let mom make rent. I treated God like a vending machine or a distant cosmic president. I knew he was there, theoretically, like gravity or the Wi Fi signal, but I didn't know him. I didn't talk to him. I was lukewarm. I was distracted. I was asleep at the wheel of my own life. That night, the last night of my before life, was aggressively, painfully normal. It was a Tuesday, November 14th. If you know anything about working at a movie theater, you know Tuesdays are slow. I clocked out at exactly 9:30 p.m. I remember looking at the digital punch clock on the wall. The red numbers, 9:30, burned into my retina. I was tired. My feet ached in that dull, throbbing way. I grabbed my backpack from my locker. It was heavy with my biology textbook and my tangled headphones. I zipped up my hoodie. It was a charcoal gray Nike hoodie, my security blanket. I pushed the heavy metal door of the back exit open. The cold hit me instantly. It was unseasonably frigid for Georgia in November. Sharp, biting air that felt like inhaling crushed ice. It was already pitch black outside. The rear parking lot was dim. There was just one lonely, flickering orange street lamp buzzing near the dumpsters, casting long, twitchy shadows across the pavement. I put my headphones in and hit play. I don't even remember what song started playing. Just some rap track with a heavy bass line. I just wanted to zone out. I just wanted to get home. My mind drifted to dinner. I knew my mom had made chili. I could almost taste it, the spicy warmth, the melted cheddar cheese. I remember thinking, I hope Chloe didn't eat all the leftovers. That was it. That was the profound final thought of Ethan James Carter as a living human being. Not a prayer, just a selfish, hungry hope for a bowl of chili. It's funny how tragedy waits for the mundane. It waits for you to be bored. It waits for you to be distracted. I was halfway to my car when the vibe changed. I didn't hear him coming, but I felt him. You know that prickle on the back of your neck? That primal alarm that screams predator? I felt a sudden, violent yank on my backpack strap. It spun me around like a rag doll. One earbud ripped out of my ear. The music in my left ear sounded tinny and far away now. I stumbled, catching my balance on the cold asphalt. And there he was. He was standing right in my face, maybe 2 feet away. My brain tried to process the image. He was older than me, maybe 30. He looked wrecked. His skin was sallow and tight against his skull. He was illuminated by the sickly orange glow of the street lamp. He was wearing a dirty camouflage jacket, and he was sweating. Beads of sweat were rolling down his forehead, even though it was 40 degrees out. He had a ski mask, but he hadn't pulled it all the way down. It was perched on his head like a beanie. That was the first bad sign. If he wasn't hiding his face, he didn't care who saw him. "Give it here," he rasped. His voice cracked mid-sentence. It was the sound of desperation. I froze. I hate that I froze. In every daydream I'd ever had, I was the hero. I thought I would fight. I thought I would be brave. But biology doesn't care about your daydreams. My body just locked up. My muscles turned to concrete. My heart hammered against my ribs. "The wallet, kid, now!" he screamed. I could smell him then. He smelled like unwashed clothes and stale smoke. He was shaking violently,
vibrating like he was hooked up to an electric current. In his right hand was a gun. It wasn't a big cannon. It was small, black, and ugly, but the hole at the end of the barrel looked like an abyss. Okay, I choked out. My voice sounded tiny. Okay, man, just take it. I don't want any trouble. I moved my right hand slowly toward my back pocket. I was just going to give it to him, but I moved too fast, or maybe he was just too high. As my hand brushed the denim of my back pocket, he flinched. A spasm went through his entire body. His eyes went wide with panic. He thought I was reaching for a weapon. He thought the skinny kid in the Nike hoodie was a threat. Don't, he shrieked. And then the world ended. Bang. It wasn't a boom, it was a pop. A sharp, cracking pop like a firecracker going off in a tin can right next to my ear. The sound was the first thing to violate me. It was so loud it didn't even register as noise. It registered as a physical pressure wave slamming into my eardrums. Instantly, the ambient sounds of the parking lot vanished. They were replaced by a high-pitched, screaming, ringing sound. Eeeeee, like a siren going off inside my own skull. I didn't feel pain at first. That's the thing nobody tells you about getting shot. It didn't sting like a bee. It felt like someone had swung a sledgehammer with full force and slammed it directly into the center of my chest. The impact was massive. It lifted me off my feet. I hit the pavement hard, knocking the wind out of me. The asphalt scraped against my palms, but I barely felt that. All my attention was focused on the center of my chest. The guy panicked. He didn't even check my pockets. He just turned and ran. I heard his footsteps getting quieter, and then the pain hit. It started as a small, hot point, but it spread fast. It felt like someone had poured boiling water inside my rib cage. Liquid fire. It was searing, tearing, consuming. I brought my hand up to my chest. I pulled my hand back and held it up to the light. It was black. In the orange light of the street lamp, blood looks black like oil. It was coating my fingers, thick and sticky. Oh, I thought. The realization hit me with a slow, dull horror. I've been shot. My brain tried to reject it. No, I have a biology test tomorrow. This doesn't happen to me. I tried to breathe, but my lungs wouldn't cooperate. It sounded like a wet rattle deep inside my chest. Gurgle. Hiss. My lung had collapsed. I was drowning on dry land. I looked up at the sky. I wanted to see stars. But there were no stars. Just that sickly, smoggy orange glow of the streetlights. It looked like the sky was bruised. My thoughts started to fragment. I saw my mom's face. She's going to worry, I thought. I told her I was coming home. The guilt hit me harder than the bullet. I was going to break her heart. Then I saw Chloe, my little sister. Who's going to help her with math now? It's just us three against the world, I had told her once. Now it was just going to be two. The edges of my vision started to dissolve. Gray fuzz crept in from the corners of my eyes. The pain began to fade, replaced by a cold numbness, starting in my toes and moving up. I felt like I was floating on a raft of ice. I tried to scream. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out, just a bubble of blood. Help, I mouthed silently. Please. And then the streetlights went out. The parking lot disappeared. The cold air disappeared. I was gone. The first thing I noticed was the silence. You think you know what silence is. You don't. On Earth, silence is just the absence of noise. But this was different. This was a heavy, thick, velvet silence. It felt like walking into a massive, empty cathedral made of stone, but multiplied by a million. It was the kind of silence that demands respect. I opened my eyes. I wasn't in the parking lot anymore. The dirty asphalt, the flickering orange light, it was all gone. I was standing in a void, a soft, deep indigo, like the color of space. I looked down at my hands. I expected to see blood, but they were clean and they were glowing. My hands were shimmering with a faint light, like moonlight reflecting on calm water. I touched my chest. No hole, no pain. The fire was gone. I took a deep breath, a real breath, and it felt smooth and effortless. I looked down at myself. I wasn't wearing my dirty Nike hoodie anymore. I was wearing light. It looked like a robe made of the same glowing substance that made up my body. I wasn't scared. That was the weirdest part. A minute ago, I was terrified. Now, I felt a calm so deep it was intoxicating. It was like I had been holding my breath for 17 years, and finally, I exhaled. Then I looked down. It was like looking through the wrong end of a telescope. Below me, far below in the crushing dark, I saw a scene playing out. I saw the parking lot. I saw a body lying on the asphalt. It was twisted in a weird way, like a broken doll. A security guard was sprinting toward it, his flashlight bouncing wildly. I squinted at the feet of the body. I saw the shoes, bright blue, my Air Jordan 4s. That's my favorite pair, I thought. Then the realization hit me. That's me. That broken thing down there, that was Ethan Carter. I should have been terrified, but I felt relieved. It was like taking off a heavy backpack that I hadn't realized I was wearing since the day I was born. Suddenly, the weight was gone. The anxiety about money? Gone. The fear of not being good enough? Gone. All the things I thought were my life, they weren't my life at all. They were just the luggage. And I had left it all at the baggage claim. I was light. I was free. And for the first time in forever, I was just me. I started to drift upward. It wasn't like flying, it was gentle. Think of a single bubble at the bottom of a glass of soda. It just rises because that is its nature. That was me. As I rose, the parking lot below dissolved into a gray mist. The sky around me shifted. The deep void began to brighten, transforming into colors I can't even name. And the colors were singing. I didn't just see the light, I heard it. A wave of crimson washed over me, and it sounded like a cello being played in an empty hall. Then a burst of gold, and it sounded like a choir of 1,000 voices hitting a perfect high note. The colors were a symphony. The atmosphere itself was music. I was moving fast now, rushing towards something. I felt a sense of anticipation building in my chest, the feeling of coming home for Christmas, but magnified by infinity. And then I stopped. I was standing on something solid. It felt like glass, but it was warm to the touch. Below the floor, I could see galaxies spinning. The air here was different. On Earth, air is just empty space. But here, the air was alive. I took a breath and it felt like drinking cold water on a hot day. It had texture. It had substance. It felt like liquid life pouring into my lungs. Every time I inhaled, I felt stronger. It was as if the air itself was made of love. I stood there for a moment, letting the living air fill me. The memory of the gun, the blood, the pain, it lost its sting. It became like a story I had read in a book. Then the atmosphere shifted. The singing colors quieted down to a hum, and I felt a presence. It wasn't behind me or in front of me. It was suddenly everywhere. I turned around, and then I saw him. I know what people say. They say they see a bright light, and he was bright. But he wasn't a blurry ghost. He was a man. He was standing about 20 feet away from me. He was wearing a robe that looked like it was woven out of diamonds and sand. It had texture. It shimmered with every movement. But it was his face that stopped my heart. He didn't look like the pictures in my grandma's Bible. He wasn't a pale European. His skin was the color of the earth, rich, deep soil, polished wood. But it was his eyes. When I looked into his eyes, I didn't just see a color. I saw a history. I saw an ocean. Language is too small to explain this. Imagine you are standing on the very edge of the Grand Canyon. You feel tiny in the face of such raw power. Now, imagine the Grand Canyon turns to look at you. And imagine that instead of indifference, the Grand Canyon looks at you with absolute, crushing, overwhelming love. That is what his eyes felt like. Ancient, powerful, dangerous in the way a thunderstorm is dangerous, but completely, totally safe. He didn't smile like a human smiles. The whole atmosphere around him smiled. I walked toward him. My knees were shaking, not from fear, but from awe. Then he spoke. He didn't move his lips at first. The voice came from everywhere. It resonated in my bones. It sounded like the ocean crashing against rocks, powerful, relentless, but at the same time soft as a whisper. Ethan, he said. Just my name, 2 syllables. But he said it like he had been waiting for me all day, like he knew every stupid thing I'd ever done, and he liked me anyway. I fell to my knees. Am I dead? I whispered. He stepped closer and reached out a hand. I saw a scar on his wrist. It looked like a star. You have crossed over, my son, he said, but your time is not finished. Panic shot through me. No, I said, I don't want to go back. Please, it hurts there. He knelt down right at eye level. I know, he said, and I could feel his sadness. I know it is hard. That is why you must go back. They need to know. Know what? I asked. He stood up and pointed behind me. Look. I turned around. The warm glass floor disappeared. Suddenly, I was looking at a giant screen. It was a window into the world. I saw a map of the United States. It was pulsing with lights and shadows. Watch the year, Jesus said. I saw a calendar flipping rapidly. 2023, 2024, 2025. It stopped on 2026. The atmosphere became heavy, charged with static electricity. The year of the mirror, he called it. Why? I asked. Because, he answered, voice like thunder, it is the year humanity will be forced to look at itself. The distractions will break, the illusions will shatter. He showed me the first vision. I saw American cities, New York, Atlanta, Los Angeles, but I didn't see fire or bombs. I saw people. Millions of people were walking around looking at their hands. They were holding their phones, but the screens were gray. Not black, gray, blank, static. There was a massive sense of confusion. The distraction will break, Jesus said. For a season, the noise will stop. The systems you rely on, the money, the entertainment, will flicker and fail. It will not be the end of the world, Ethan, but it will be a pause, a great interruption. I saw people in their houses. The TVs were dark. The silence was deafening. They were terrified because they were alone with their own thoughts. They are lonely, I whispered. They are starving, he corrected. In 2026, The idols of comfort will crack. Then the vision shifted. I saw a massive table in the middle of the country. It was piled high with rotting food, money, and fame. People were fighting over it, tearing each other apart. "This is the big table," Jesus said with grief. "This is the system of the world. It is rotting." I watched the legs of the giant table buckle and collapse. "Look closer," he commanded. "Look to the edges." I zoomed in. I saw small lights popping up in basements and living rooms. I saw groups of neighbors sitting on mismatched chairs. They weren't fighting. They were sharing a simple loaf of bread. They were weeping and praying together. "This," Jesus smiled, "this is the small table." "The church is leaving the stage and going back to the table," he declared. "Tell them," he said urgently, "tell them to build their community now. Do not wait for the screens to go dark. In 2026, the only safety will be in unity." The final thing I saw was the strangest. I saw a thick fog covering Washington, D.C. and the financial centers. It represented secrets and lies. Then a violent divine wind blew. It ripped the fog away, and underneath, I saw the ugliness. It was like turning over a rock and seeing bugs scatter. I saw corruption hidden for decades. I saw trusted leaders exposed. It was shocking. "It looks like chaos," I whispered. Jesus placed his hand on my shoulder. "It is not chaos, Ethan. It is cleaning. A wound must be cleaned before it can heal. America will look like it is breaking, but it is being lanced. Do not fear the exposure. The truth must come out." 2026 is the turning point," he said. "People will either choose the anger of the rotting table or the peace of the small table. Tell them to choose now." He stepped closer. He placed his hand gently over my chest, right where the bullet had entered. His hand was warm. It wasn't just heat, it was a fire that sank into my spirit. It felt like he was cauterizing the trauma. He was rewriting the memory of the violence. "Your mother is praying," he whispered. His voice broke my heart. "Right now, in the waiting room, she is begging me not to take you. She is reminding me that she has already lost a husband." I felt a pang of guilt sharp enough to cut glass. "I am answering her prayer," he said, "and I am answering the prayers of those who need to hear your story." I looked up at him. "Will it hurt?" I asked like a terrified child. "Going back, will it hurt?" He didn't lie. "Yes," he said. "Life hurts, Ethan. Gravity hurts. Growth hurts. But you will never be alone again. When you feel the ache, know that it is my hand pressing against your heart." He leaned in close and whispered a secret to me, a promise for the future. Then he pulled back. "Go," he said. He placed his hand on my shoulder and pushed. It was the push of a parent sending a child down a slide. I fell backward. The glass floor vanished. The singing colors rushed away. I fell down, down, down into the cold dark. My eyes flew open. The pain was instantaneous. It felt like a freight train had slammed into my chest. Gravity crushed me into the asphalt. I felt heavy. I felt trapped. There were sounds, awful, jagged sounds, sirens wailing like banshees. "He's back! We got a pulse!" A bright light shone directly into my eyes. It stung. I tried to take a breath, but I couldn't. There was a tube shoved down my throat. I panicked. I tried to thrash. "Hold him, he's fighting the tube." A paramedic with terrified eyes hovered over me. "You're okay, Ethan," he yelled. "You were gone for a while, buddy, but we got you back." Gone for a while. Later, they told me I had been clinically dead for 18 minutes. My heart had completely stopped. They were seconds away from calling the time of death. And then, without a shock, my heart just started, like someone flipped a switch. As the ambulance doors slammed shut, I felt a single tear roll down my cheek. It wasn't from the pain, it was from the grief. I was back in the noise. I was back in the broken world, and I missed him already. I spent weeks in the hospital. I have a scar now, a jagged pink line running down my chest. But the physical recovery wasn't the hard part. The hard part was the spiritual recovery. I lay in that bed watching the news on the wall. I saw the anger. I saw the division. I saw the politicians lying with smiles on their faces. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. I saw the big table rotting. The cracks in the foundation are already there, folks. You can feel it, can't you? The tension in the air, the feeling that something is about to snap. I wasn't afraid anymore. That was his gift to me. I am not the same Ethan Carter who walked out of that movie theater. That kid died on the pavement. I know what is coming. 2026 isn't the end of the world. It's not the apocalypse, but it is a test, a divine midterm exam for humanity. Jesus showed me that our comforts are going to be shaken. The things we use to numb ourselves, the screens, the entertainment, are going to flicker and go dark. If you are watching this, you have the cheat sheet for the test. Jesus wants you to prepare. But do not prepare by hoarding gold or digging a bunker. That is the reaction of fear. He wants you to build a small table. Look at your life right now. Who are your neighbors? Do you even know their names? If the internet went dark tomorrow, who would you pray with? Who would you share a meal with? Find those people. Find them today. Forgive the ones you are holding grudges against. Call your dad. Because when the shaking starts, bitterness is a luxury you cannot afford. Love is the only currency that will have value. He told me, everything that can be shaken will be shaken, so that what cannot be shaken will remain. Make sure your relationships are the things that remain. My name is Ethan James Carter. I died on a cold Tuesday night in Georgia, and I came back to tell you this. He is real. He is coming closer, and he loves you. Don't be afraid of 2026. Just be ready. Build your table.